a New York, New York, New York. Big bag soca in a New York, New York, New York. Yeah, we drop them beat in a New York, New York, New York. Big bag soca in a New York, New York.
Welcome back to the Now Morning Show. On this Friday edition, we're starting with a conversation about a Caribbean Fete that's happening in Times Square. It's happening on the 10th of June, and joining us this morning is Shelley Worrell, the founder of I Am Caribbean. Good morning, Shelley, and welcome.
Good morning, Trinidad. Good morning.
How are you doing this morning, Shelley?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Shelley, before we get into a fete happening in Times Square, let's learn a little bit about your organization, I Am Caribbean. What inspired you to find it and, well, found it rather, and what exactly do you do?
Yeah, so really my inspiration started in Trinidad. So as a first generation Caribbean American, I grew up between New York City and actually Sandy Grande and Curup. So from a very, very young age, I started spending a lot of my summers. And then later on in life, I would come back home often for Carnival to play Mass. And what I saw here in New York City was really a huge gap in terms of Caribbean culture. So when I was in undergraduate studies, studying anthropology and Caribbean studies, I had this vision to create a space for Caribbean storytelling. And that's how I Am Caribbean was born.
Well, you definitely have some supports in studio and upstairs right now, because everyone was very happy to hear Sangre Grande. So you have these supports right here at the TTT Limited Media Network. Now, let's speak, before we get into the fete, one of the things we just touched on very briefly was also Little Caribbean NYC. What is that about?
Yeah, so Little Caribbean is a neighborhood in Brooklyn. So I used to work in media and tech. I work in media and tech for over, I would say 15 to 20 years. And my father, who is from Curup, he started to become very ill, and his health was declining pretty rapidly. And I decided that I was going to quit my job in corporate America and to spend more time with him at home, as he was really sort of, he went from walking to walker to wheelchair in a very short amount of time. So what that meant is I started to spend a lot more time on the ground in my neighborhood here in Brooklyn, in Flatbush. And I started to walk around, and what I noticed is what I think a lot of us already intrinsically knew, which is we have the largest, most diverse Caribbean community in the world, outside of the Caribbean itself. So I started to ask myself and ask others, what elected officials as well as stakeholders, why isn't there a Little Caribbean in New York City, especially since we are the epicenter of the diaspora? And no one could answer me. So I actually started to map it out, and I decided that we needed to create a Little Caribbean in New York City. We have 8 Chinatowns. There are 2 Little Italys. There's K-Town, there's Little Brazil, there's Little Pakistan. And with us representing such a significant percentage of New Yorkers, 20% of 8 million people, I thought it was really, really imperative for us to create Little Caribbean. So that was in 2017. And now we've been written up in National Geographic. Time Out recently named us one of the coolest neighborhood in New York City and one of the coolest in the world. And people now are visiting Little Caribbean from all over the world. Yesterday, we hosted a Lyman Lyrics at our headquarters on Nostrand Avenue. And believe it or not, there are people all the way from the UK who, as they were in New York, British Caribbean people who sought us out, and they really love to come and island hop down Nostrand Avenue.
Nice. Well, once West Indians are there, everything good is happening. That is for sure. And speaking about good things happening, let's talk about the fact that Times Square is about to turn into a fete. What inspired that? What can we look forward to? And even if we're not there, are we going to be able to enjoy it some way, somehow?
Yeah, so we are producing the very first Caribbean Fete on Times Square. And we're really excited. So that's next Tuesday from 5 to 7. We are looking into streaming options so everyone could tap in from back home and throughout the entire diaspora. So we are hosting that with DJ Private Ryan, who's also a fellow Trini, and some of his friends. We have some special guests coming on with us as well. That's going to be very, very exciting. It's the very first fete that's being held, and it's very, very famous public square, and we're thrilled to be the host and the organizers of this event.
What does this mean for you particularly, of course, being the founder of I Am Caribbean, knowing that this is coming to life now?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, it's really sort of like I would say the pinnacle or one of the pinnacles of our organizational history because we're bringing a really huge part of our culture to one of the most iconic locations in the world, Times Square.
And what about for the West Indian community in New York City, particularly? What is the energy like on the ground in preparation for this event?
Well, the energy, this is Caribbean Week. I should note in New York City, and June is also National Caribbean American Heritage Month. And so for us to be able to really be at the forefront, I think that the buzz and the excitement has been really, really, especially on our social media platforms. People are very excited. Yesterday, I was at an event, a Caribbean Week event, and as soon as I walked in the lobby, everyone was like, Shelley, Shelley, oh my God. I'm really looking forward to next week. So I am beyond thrilled. We're planning on getting there very early. Anyone who's attending IRL, I recommend that you get there. Please don't be late o'clock. Don't be on Caribbean time. You really should get there early so you could be front and center and really represent Caribbean culture in all of its glory.
I mean, you said it right there. Please don't be late o'clock because you know when we reach, and that's when the party is going to start. But given the fact that
Exactly.
there are time indicators, I'm assuming that you're going to have to shut off at a particular time, or will there be that leniency that we get to experience on the islands?
There will not be. The event is strictly from 5 to 7, and we're working on an after party location at an undisclosed location. We'll announce it as soon as we confirm all the details.
All right. So where do we need to go to get information about this? What social media platforms, email addresses? What do we need?
So it's I am Caribbean, IAMCARBBEING. The RSVPs are currently closed, but of course, it's a free public event, so everyone is welcome to join us.
So it's free to the public.
It is free. It is
That's
free.
good. Good, man. Doing good things here. And looking forward to seeing what's going to continue to happen with your organization and also with the general energy of the space. Let's talk about the future, though, of I Am Caribbean and the future of events like this. Is this something that you see happening?
Yeah, I mean, we are best known for our events. This is probably we're in the high hundreds. So we to date we've produced over 500 public and also public events, excuse me. So we actually started off as the first Caribbean Film Festival exclusively dedicated to Caribbean cinema in New York. And since then we've evolved to include arts and other types of programming. We also host tours of Little Caribbean in partnership with National Geographic. So this is just a sign of much, much more to come. Later this month, we have a One Love Fest in Prospect Park Boathouse. Later in the summer, we have a Fete. We call it Last Lap Fete, and that's held at Brooklyn Botanic Garden, and that's around the Lily Pool Terrace. So summertime is really about being outside. And of course, we also have our Monday Mass experience that we host here during Labor Day.
What about the investment when it comes to the islands and the region itself? Do you see that being poured into this festival, into this month and week as it stands right now?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like June in New York City and in the States is really about One Caribbean and really about sort of centering the entire Caribbean experience. And the Caribbean Tourism Organization hosting Caribbean Week is really a marker of that. So a lot of the tourism offices, they gather here to really produce programming as well as this conference that centers the Caribbean experience, and of course to inveigle people to travel back home, to travel throughout the region. Last night they hosted their Caribbean Cultural Showcase, so there were representation from Grenada, from St. Lucia, and throughout the entire Caribbean region. So really, really exciting moment for us here, especially those of us who live in New York City.
Now, I know recently you were named an honoree for the I Am Cultured Inc. I Am Cultured Inc. Is that correct?
Yes.
Knowing that you would have started, of course, you shared your story with us at the event. How does that feel? It appears as though.
Hi, Shelley. You hearing me?
Yes.
Yes, it seems that we're having some technical difficulties with Natasha's microphone, but I definitely want to say thank you very much for joining us and congratulations on this initiative. We look forward to seeing the results of it and to seeing more in the future as well.
Excellent. Thank you so much for having me.
Not a problem. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
Take care. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Shelley Worrell, founder of I Am Caribbean, just sharing with us some information about the upcoming Fete in Times Square on June 10th that we can definitely look out for. And we say congratulations on all the celebrations of Caribbean Week, etc., etc. Let's take a quick break and we come back with more in our morning show. Can we fix your mic, Natasha?
I mean...
Beat in a New York, New York.